I can honestly say this is probably my biggest frustration as a creative. Not being able to draw my own characters the same way twice. My Mariki Meadow characters, I don't really have this problem with. Bits, Bobbles, Fergus, those just come naturally to me. But freaking humans? I don't know, man. How they can look so vastly different, I don't know. Anywho, so this is a big source of irritation for me, so for the month of January, I decided to enter the ring of combat and battle this beast. I grabbed my nurture workbook, set a new intention to nurture my character design skills, and dove headfirst into this. I will be sharing the whole journey in an upcoming video soon, but for now, we'll just take a little peek at part of the practice. So if you've been hanging around my channel for any length of time, it should come as no surprise to you that Rachel Maxey is one of my favorite YouTubers. The epitome of quirky, cozy, whimsy. She's a very chaotic creative, and that resonates with me a lot. So I decided I wanted to put on some of her videos and just sketch her.
But Allie, what does that have to do with character designing?
So my goal with this page was to basically turn Rachel into a character, to come up with a fun little style and fill a page with sketches. Spoiler alert, this was an absolute failure, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So, I grabbed some screenshots of some of her videos, pulled out my colored pencil and sketchbook, and sat down to work. Now you may be wondering why I chose to use a colored pencil instead of a graphite pencil. I generally prefer using a colored pencil because it's very hard to erase. It challenges me to be both more methodical and more carefree as I sketch. Juxtaposing ideas, I know, but surprisingly it actually works. I have to be more confident with my marks, making sure that I'm putting them down exactly where I want them, and at the same time, embracing that I'm not always going to make the right mark. And because it's so hard to erase, those field marks are gonna live on the page forever, and I have to just be okay with that. So I started off with this screenshot. I loved the glasses and the hand on the book. I thought it was a really cute pose. I wasn't really trying to stylize too much here, mostly just getting familiar with her facial features and whatnot. Not great, but not terrible. Definitely still warming up. And I do believe that that was mistake number 1 for this sketching session. I wasn't really warmed up at this point. I don't think I'd sketched it all yet that day, and it shows. The reality is, warming up is important whether you're an athlete, a musician, a painter, a pancake maker. It takes some time to get things moving. Not only are you physically warming up your wrist and shoulder, getting those muscles in the groove of drawing, but you're also warming up your creative muscles. Getting the ideas flowing, reminding your eyes how to see measurements, turning your brain on to stylizing. So that first sketch is kind of like the first pancake. At best, a little bit wonky. At worst, entirely unusable. Mine was somewhere in the middle, I think. However, moving on to the second sketch, this one went a lot better. I played around more with stylization, as well as changing up a few elements of the pose. For example, the positioning of her right arm. To be honest, I think this was my favorite sketch of them all. Which is kind of surprising since I still wasn't fully warmed up yet. But I don't know, I like the shapes. I like the curve of her arm, the angles of the shirt, the shape language of the brush, the curve of the jaw and the chin. I really like that mixture of soft curves and sharp angles. I felt like there was a really good balance with this one. A lot of the next ones just, I don't know, they just felt too angular to me. Just popping in with a quick word from our sponsor, me. Unfortunately, it's wintertime here in the Midwest, and I'll be honest, those winter blues can be brutal. I miss the sun. But there's no better way to make someone's day in the wintertime than by sending a cozy little letter. Just letting them know you're thinking about them. And there's no better way to decorate it than with cozy critter stickers. These Arctic animals are sure to make your loved ones smile even on the yuckiest winter day. So pop on over to my shop to pick up a sheet of your own. You can use the code YouTube10 to save 10% on your order. As always, every order is Annie Jane approved. And now, back to the video. So then we moved on to the next pose, which brings me to the next mistake, not sticking to my goal. So the initial goal was to create a page of Rachel Maxey character sketches in the same style. not just stylizing each sketch randomly. Now, I didn't really take the time to analyze what I liked about that second sketch and build those things into the third. I basically just started from ground zero again, trying out new things. I just looked at the reference and started sketching. And I was also relying way too heavily on the reference and Rachel's actual proportions rather than the stylized proportions that I'd started building. Well, partially. Like, it's still not realistic, but it's a weird mixture of semi-realism and stylized. I don't know how to explain it. Hopefully you get what I mean. So moving on to the next sketch, I attempted to reel things back into the goal of creating a character. I tried to match more of the style of the second sketch, like the cartoony eyes, the tiny doll-like neck. I also played around more with exaggerating the shapes of the hair, kind of moving away from the realm of realism. I wanted to do a simple headshot because I just needed a win. I wanted to feel like I was heading in the right direction. And headshots can be really nice for that because you aren't really worried about body proportions, just the face. So as I moved on to the next sketch, at this point, we just kind of lost the plot entirely. Everything turned sharp and angular, and I left behind everything I liked about the second sketch. I traded the curved chin for sharp angles, the fluffy hair for these kind of harsher bangs, also moving back into more realistic body proportions instead of
building a character.
From here on out, we just ran the gamut of styles. Bouncing from curvy cartoony to actual semi-realism to somewhere in between. All sense of direction just flew out the window, and I was fully sketching without a purpose and getting more and more frustrated by the minute. So when you're actually designing a character for a book or a video game, a film, exploration is very important. If you look at like art of books for films and games, there are pages upon pages of character design iterations, and these are probably just a small portion of the amount of designing and redesigning those characters actually went through. They're playing around with different proportions, different shapes, spacing of facial features, costumes, etc. It's all about story, and the designers have to weed through all the ideas that don't tell the story to find the ideas that do, tweaking the almost right idea to become the right idea. But my goal here wasn't iteration. My goal was to pick a style and stick with it for one page, just one, and I didn't do that. So like we talked about in this video, I don't ever believe you should limit yourself to one style or subject or medium for your whole creative practice. That is a recipe for resentment and burnout. Exploration is important because it allows you to find what you love and don't love, and try new mediums and find what fits you and your tastes. Exploring different styles or subjects can keep your work from becoming stale, stagnant, boring. I truly do believe exploration is important, and you don't have to stick to one style for everything. However, exploration doesn't have to be the goal of every creative session. Sometimes you need to choose practice over play. If you're always in play mode, it's very difficult or maybe even impossible to really build solid skills in any area. And if your goal is simply to have fun, for all of your creativity to be playtime, then that is 10,000% okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you want to build your skills, to improve in a medium, or to improve in a subject, or build up a style, you have to shift into practice mode sometimes. To set a goal and stick with it. Maybe that's the goal of only using watercolors for the next 2 months to familiarize yourself with the medium and develop your watercolor skills. Maybe that's the goal of practicing anatomy for the next few weeks so you gain a better understanding of bone and muscle structures. Setting these kinds of goals isn't a stiflement.
Stiflement? Is that even a word? What is English? Let's rephrase.
Setting these kinds of goals doesn't stifle your creativity. It's creating a practice space for you to build the skills you use in your creativity. And you can absolutely still bring a playful mindset to the table. Maybe you do those anatomy sketches in neon acrylic markers. Maybe you explore different kinds of birds during your watercolor practice. Setting goals and practicing skills should never come from a place of loathing, from the mindset of,
"Ugh, I guess I need to practice now."
I believe joy should be a part of every session, whether it's a playful one or a practice one. You can still have that joy in the practice part. So as this session went on, it turned more into play and less into practice. And it wasn't even fun play. It was just me getting more and more frustrated because I lost sight of what I was supposed to be doing. In truth, I didn't even really want to turn this session into a video because I was so irritated with how it turned out. The plot was lost. And then I realized that's exactly why I needed to make this video. I talk all the time on here about how failure is a part of the creative practice. It isn't shameful, and it isn't something we should shy away from talking about. In fact, I think if more artists were honest about the failures, we'd all be a little less self-conscious about our creativity. We're always seeing everyone's best work online, and that tends to put the wrong picture in our minds. We assume that every other artist always makes perfect art that they're proud of, and we sit on the sidelines with pages and pages of failed sketches or a portfolio of subpar paintings that didn't really go the direction we wanted them to. And we think,
wow, why am I the only one struggling here?
And the truth is, every artist struggles. Every artist makes bad art. Every artist fails. Every artist questions their work sometimes. These are the harsher, uglier sides of being a creative, but it's honest. And honesty is pretty raw and pretty ugly sometimes. And that's okay. So I wanted to make this video and share this failed page with you guys to remind you that you aren't alone when you lose sight of the goal, when the painting doesn't turn out the way that you wanted, when every sketch is worse than the last one. Failure is not only a part of the practice, but a necessary part of the practice. Failure shows us how to improve. It teaches us what we do and don't like. It grows our skills and our endurance as artists in the most uncomfortable and inconvenient way. I also wanted to make this video to remind you that it's both important and okay to self-critique. A lot of what I've said about this page may sound very negative, but the reality is, I didn't complete the assignment I set for myself. There's no way around that. I can't put a positive spin on it. But I'm also not beating myself up for this failed attempt. We kind of have two options. We can look at failure as a throw in the towel kind of thing, or we can look at failure as an opportunity to grow, to see what we did wrong and improve the next time. So I do intend to give this assignment another go soon, and I'll have a better sense of direction going into it because of this failed attempt. And I can also see the good parts about this page and the sketching session as a whole. Individually, I like most of the sketches. I love the look of her hand and arm in this one, the stylization in this one, the interesting shadow shapes in this one, and the fluffy curls in this one. I can also see the good in the session as a whole. Did I complete the assignment? No. Was it a waste then? Also no. I learned so much from this session, and I can use that moving forward. Just because you make something you didn't like or didn't meet the goal you set for yourself doesn't mean your effort was wasted. Every session makes you a little bit better of an artist. So let's chat just a little bit about life and the goings-on before we part ways. If you watched my last video, you'll know I set some pretty fun intentions for myself for 2025. All of these are things I'm really excited for, and I'm really hopeful that it's gonna be a good year for me. One of my biggest goals, probably the biggest goal, is to create and launch my first art book, a collection of my Merricky Monday sketches from the sketchbook I just finished. I'm currently working on writing some more little poems, little snorry
snippets,
story snippets, or even just thought prompts to go along with some of the sketches. I'm also working on getting all the pieces scanned and turned into digital files. So the first part is more creatively tedious, and the second part is more just tedious. Scanning is a very low energy task, but it's just so boring. But it's necessary, so we carry on. Anywho, I'm still between printers at the moment, trying to get the best deal. I'm also figuring out how much it's going to cost for shipping supplies and shipping in general. Unfortunately, I'm not fully sure yet if I'm going to be able to ship books outside of the US. Media mail is a USPS only thing, so shipping the books in the States is very budget friendly. However, shipping internationally, people would have to pay like twice the amount of the book just in the shipping costs, which is outrageous and annoying. So, I don't know, still trying to figure that out. If you have any thoughts, please let me know. This is my first time doing this, so I'm basically know nothing. This is definitely one of the parts of running an art business that is a bit less enjoyable. Like if I just had to make the art and then someone else took care of marketing it, turning it into products, shipping stuff, that would be great. As it is, in the words of Kevin McAllister, woof. I'm not great with numbers and honestly just management stuff in general. Anywho, I finally finished my miniature kit. So I turned this little study kit into Frigus the Fox's Marikey Meadow Library, and y'all, I cannot wait to show it to you. I really went all out with this one, spray painting the shelves, making my own wood stain, distressing the crap out of everything. I am a big fan of distressing things now. I also added a few other touches that are pretty fun. I faced a big fear with this one, and I'm really looking forward to showing the results to you. All this to say, I'm working on editing that video, which will either be up in February or the beginning of March. I'm not sure. I need to look at my video schedule. More than likely, the next video you guys are going to see from me is the little mini documentary of my January journey.
That's a fun little title.
I'll be sharing my nurture intention with you, touring through the sketchbook pages I completed during that process, sharing some of my journal entries, what I learned, where I failed, what improvements we made along the way. This journey has definitely been more of an emotional roller coaster than some of my previous challenges. We've had a lot of wins, a lot of not wins, but something really cool and exciting is coming out of it, and I'm excited to share that with you guys. So what else is new? Honestly, that's kind of it. We've got some family stuff going on that might take me out of work for a little bit, not sure when, so I'm trying to work ahead and get done what I can get done so I can be all in with my family. Trying to stock up a couple of YouTube videos so I don't have to worry about editing, trying to get some curriculum written for the next Curiosity Quest on Patreon. Honestly, just making my intentions video has helped me a lot lately because I can kind of compare my tasks to those intentions. Like, is what I'm working on in alignment with the direction I want to head in? Am I actually working toward those goals, or am I devoting time and effort to things that aren't really that important? I definitely feel like I have a much better sense of direction going into 2025, and I'm really excited to see how those things play out. Anywho, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed sketching with me and chatting about practice versus play. Huge thank you to the Cozy and Curious Creatives over on Patreon for helping to support my art journey. Y'all are the real MVPs. If you're interested in another sketching session, then head on over to watch this video next. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye guys!